certify that only public business matters lawfully exempt from open meeting requirements were discussed, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and it has been seconded. Vote, please. Okay, motion carried. Want to welcome everyone to our meeting tonight, and especially we want to welcome Mr. Cunningham, a new school board representative from the Hardy District. And Mr. Vise from our Windsor District. And I also want to recognize Mr. Jefferson from Board of Supervisors. He's with us tonight. Welcome. Now, at this time, I'm going to ask Ms. Tynes if she'll please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, we are ready for our Isle of Wight Achievers. Ms. Briggs.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. The vision for Isle of Wight County Schools is to create a learning environment that will enable every child to discover his or her unique gifts and talents. The Isle of Wight Achievers section of our board meeting gives us an opportunity to recognize and celebrate our students and staff for their unique talents and gifts. So tonight, we have a brief Achievers presentation. We have our seniors of the month, and unfortunately, our senior from Windsor High is working tonight and not able to be here. So I will say her name is Mackenzie Powers, and Mackenzie is going to come to our December board meeting. So we will read her accolades then and give her her plaque and her recognition. But we do have with us our senior from Smithfield High School, and that is Vincent Nee. And I'm going to have Vincent come up. He's going to stand in front while I read. And then after I finish reading, we'll get you guys to stand and we'll get a photo while he's standing up here. Not to put you on the spot, Vincent. Come on. Here you go. You hold that. And then just stand up there. I'm going to read some fun stuff about you. Okay. Vincent is a strong academic student who is always willing to help others. He is participating in a Jefferson Lab mentorship program and plans to study to be an aerospace engineer upon graduation. Vincent participates in various clubs and attends the Governor's School for Science and Technology. He served as a freshman mentor this year and stepped up in a leadership role to help our freshmen transition during freshman orientation. Quote, Vincent is a great asset to the school community. I have enjoyed getting to know him while he has been at SHS. He is a dedicated student and one others look up to. He has helped his family working while maintaining extremely competitive grades. Through this, he has also kept a smile on his face and continued to challenge himself and be active at school. He also helped with the transition day welcoming new freshmen to campus. I cannot say enough wonderful things about Vincent, and that comes from Miss Yancey Williams, school counselor. Vincent plans to attend a 4-year university, and I know right now all the seniors are in the midst of applying. So, and as stated earlier, he plans to study aerospace engineering. We want to congratulate you, and if you'll take a couple steps back, and board members and our liaisons, if you could kind of congregate closer to Ms. Carr. And as far as the picture, if you're comfortable, you're welcome to remove your mask for the photo, because that would just be a few seconds. Mr. Elliott's pretty quick with those things. You got it?
Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations once again, Vincent. And that's going to actually conclude our Achievers tonight. So thank you, Vincent. Thank you to his family members that came to support him, and we'll have more Achievers in December.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Briggs. Next on the agenda is special presentation, Eye on Instruction. We are honored to have Carsville Elementary School with us tonight.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Thornton, and school board members. My name is Stacy Catterbone. I am the instructional coach at Carsville Elementary. Our third graders from Miss Patero's and Miss Dawkins' classes are here to present their project-based learning, Where in the World is My Bulldog?
Hi, my name is Ava Landris.
Hi, my name is Alan Newberry.
Hi, my name is Bailey Darty. Hi, my name is Aubrey Jenkins.
Hi, my name is Sakari Jackson. Hi, my name is Nathan Curl.
We took our stuffed bulldog and dropped a board on him and made him fly. Let's watch what happens to our bulldog next.
Come on. Baby. Doesn't want to love. There we go. Let me get it back into there. Where's the mouse? Sorry. Can't find the mouse. Right, excuse me. There we go. Whew. Challenging.
Our essential question is, how do landmarks and land features have an impact on the world and people around them?
Other direction. Yep.
We learned how to write letters and how to request information. We wrote to family members around the world and asked them to take pictures of land and to identify landmarks and special land features near where they live.
We took a field trip to the cotton gin in Windsor, Virginia. We discovered how cotton is cleaned and how it is made into clothes.
The flat bulldogs and the letters that students wrote are done. Our bulldogs is traveling all around the world. A family member will receive it and take a picture around the landmark or land feature. Miss Butler is going to receive our bulldogs and send them on their trips.
I'm going to share the process we went through to begin our project. First, we looked at a map and found the places where our family members lived and they had traveled. And we did a pre-write and wrote down stuff our bulldog could see when he traveled to those places. Then we did a rough draft and made revisions. Finally, we did our final letter that we sent to our family members. We included the directions so our family members would know what to do with their flat bulldog.
That's Stanley.
Once we begin receiving our bulldog's photos, we will map the location on a map where the bulldog traveled. Then we will teach our classmates about the landmark or features he saw.
We are looking forward to learn about many more landmarks and land features.
Please join us on December Expo to see our final project.
That's it.
That looked like fun learning. Looked like you enjoyed that whole process. And that's real world learning, not just behind a desk but with paper and pencil. You guys did a great job. Thank you so much.
I have a question.
We have a question from Miss
I have a
Kynes.
question. Well, what is the significance of the bulldog? Is this your mascot? Maybe the audience would like to know, or is just you, the class, like the bulldog?
It's a picture that our school has a lot.
Okay. So it's like the school's mascot. Okay, that's what I wanted to tell you.
Yes.
'Cause there could be some people out here that didn't know that. So you use your school mascot. And I was, while you were doing your presentation, I was sitting up here thinking about a few years ago, I got a letter. It wasn't a letter. It was a little letter, and they sent Flat Stanley with it. And it had to travel with me in my travels. So that's pretty much what you all are doing, and you chose the bulldog. Thank you. You did a wonderful job.
Great job. Okay, thank you.
Most of them disappeared. It's nice. I enjoy that.
Okay. That was fun. Next on the agenda is request to speak.
In accordance to policy BDDH-E, presentations of information on any subject will be concluded at the discretion of the board. No person will be recognized to speak more than once. Citizens scheduled on the agenda to speak will be permitted 5 minutes maximum time for their presentation. Delegations are requested to limit their speakers to 2. A maximum of 30 minutes will be designated for public comments. Persons speaking are asked to be specific, state the issues for the board's consideration, and attach a copy of your prepared remarks. If you have prepared remarks, they should be given to the board clerk. Please do not approach the board members. The school board requests that speakers refrain from referring to specific individuals and that any matter related to a specific student or individual be discussed in a closed meeting. Speakers are addressing the school board and will face the board while at the podium and not interact with members of the audience. Okay, and the first person we have is Jason Moore. Jason Moore. Oop. Okay, next. All right. Miss Williams.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to talk, I know we have a lot of new faces, and just wanted to make you aware of just some things in the heart of the community. So it interests me how people can talk about the author style in books that we teach, yet never had issues with the textbooks that blatantly focuses on division of cultures. Some may be one-sided in our views, but let me tell you that our students are quite liberal in our classrooms. Equity fits the circumstances that leads to equality. There is a difference. You cannot eliminate something that you don't understand, especially if you are not in the classroom breaking down our data, developing tiers to address specific needs of our students. Some of the statements from the youth: you can't shelter us forever. Stop hiding and sheltering what we already know because you are scared to talk about what we are already seeing. Words give us options that hate you give does not. My courageous teacher friends, they said that no one in the world has ever done what we are doing now, don't know a thing about modern kids, and wouldn't last an hour in a classroom providing instruction. It will be a learning experience for the school board to write a lesson and to teach that lesson to a class. And we cannot keep future generations in check by brainwashing them with old ways of thinking. What we saw at the last board meeting was a great example of what we call logical fallacies, to be specific, bandwagoning and ad hominems and straw man, pure politics. For example, the correct title for the text is called Putting Makeup on a Fat Boy. The red lipstick symbolically focuses on women being stripped away from their strength during the 20th century. It is called Symbolism, Illusion, 6.4a, 9.1, 6.5, 11.3, and 7.4, and 12.3. Those are the standards of learning. So I want you to close your eyes and hear these beautiful words. While I fill bricks and refill his water bowl, Daddy picks bunches of collard greens, and from his garden he cuts roses, have looms as big as palms. That's a simile. Daddy spends hours out here every night planting, tilling, and talking, and that's parallel structure. He claims a good garden needs a good conversation. That's personification. That's from The Hate You Give. A quite eclectic mind for an eclectic independent reader. We cannot extract random lines from a book without full read and must be able to know how to annotate them. Just a dream, the promises beyond it. When the rain began to fall, they didn't notice it, but they did notice the sudden shift in the sound when it stopped. What happens when we stop the voices of our children? A wedge of light had forced itself through the dense clouds, and the cottonwoods along the river stood out like pillars against the gray backdrop of the sky. School board, I ask you to become that wedge of light that forces yourself into the shoes of every child in our community, so that their voice can become a backdrop for our future and get us out of darkness. And that comes straight from the book, Out of Darkness. I do have something for the school board. So this is the activity that I do in the members. The activity I do in my classroom is called A Walk in My Shoes. And I wanted to challenge you all to take part in that. But you all have to trace your shoe, and you have to write your story in your shoe. And then you have to switch it with one of the other board members, and they have to journal that particular life for a week. And so I supplied everything in there for you. You have the paper. You have the directions, and you also have a list of character traits as well to help you. But there's one folder, there's 3 pencils in one folder. Your job is to make sure that the person who does not have a pencil gets that pencil. Now, that pencil that you do not have represents a child who stayed with a single mother the night before and came to school, didn't have a book bag, so he or she may not have a pencil. The one who mom might have been passed out on the couch, and he's frustrating in the classroom, and he doesn't have that particular pencil. Or the student who has actually been abused. So your job is to make sure that your other students get that particular pencil, and that's what the equity is, but then it leads to equality, and then I can teach you on an equal level. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Heidi Schwartz.
Good evening. First, I'd like to ask if my resolution I proposed at the last board meeting in October has been discussed and brought forward to become a resolution to protect parents on their First Amendment, especially in light of more public allegations against 20 parents that continue to be brought forth from Superintendent Thornton. I would be included as one of those parents, and I personally do not appreciate those allegations, especially when it is in the second time he's made allegations of parents. Second, as the parent of a child who has experienced with the SPED program since 2008, I can honestly state how overworked and much needed these groups of people are. With that, Smithfield High School previously had 6 SPED teachers. This summer, 3 of them have left. They've not been replaced as far as I know. That is half of their staff. In the month of September, my son's sped teacher was quarantined, God bless her. Unfortunately, since the school division is so understaffed and substitutes are hard to find, my son's IEP was failed. For over a week, he received no services, and that's against the law. Whose fault is that? I blame the high-up superintendent for not retaining good teachers and hiring and replacing those that are lost. With that, he's asking to take $300,000 of sped money and use it for new chairs at Hardy. I asked that that money be kept in sped. The middle school is still in need of a sped gym, all of the two middle schools. Do you know that at the middle school, the sped children have to do their exercises in the hallways and in the stairs? They have already feel different in the middle school, and then they are seen by their peers having to do their sped exercises. Please look at me making a gym or even a portable trailer for these children and not divert their money. Teachers at the elementary level are reaching out to me all over the place. We know that they're overworked. At what point can parents become more involved? Why are IAs who are hired to aid for the teachers for learning gaps being pulled to cover classrooms for teachers who are being pulled for week-long training? Isn't the concern supposed to be about making sure the students are catching up after the 1.5 years of COVID shutdowns instead of all the extra training on teachers, especially with this overpriced Hampton City curriculum? It was not vetted from what I understood by any teacher input. This curriculum should have been started at a kindergarten level and moved upward, not on students returning from shutdowns in the middle of grade levels. Whose idea was this? I'd like to make a suggestion on giving teachers time who have lost planning time, lunch time, and etc. because they're covering for other teachers who are pulled out for planning. Maybe allow parents, retired officers, grandparents, and any other citizen that would like to volunteer for parent pickup and bus aid. As we all know, the shortage on bus drivers has caused timing issues, and this takes a little bit longer. Allowing volunteers would allow teachers a little bit more time at the end of their day to get things done. We parents and citizens want to help our teachers like we used to do before COVID shut down. And if I may, I'd like to take a moment to honor our dear bus driver, Kathy Howen. Kathy was an Wight County School bus driver of bus number 2. She passed away 2 weeks ago today from COVID. She was my son's bus driver for almost 5 years. Kathy would text or call me a lot, and she was more than just a bus driver for us. She might have gotten in trouble for this, but now that she's not with us, I'm going to tell a short story about her. One day last year, my son left his book bag at home. It had his laptop in it. We all know you can't do anything at school without your laptop anymore. Kathy called me while I was at work. She drove her other students to Windsor Elementary, and then she drove to my house. I gave her the code into my house. She went into my house, and she got the laptop. She drove it back to Smithfield High School so that my son could do his work. She was amazing. I was texting her in the hospital until I feared that she wasn't giving me any more replies. It was greatly saddened to me when I got a call that she had passed away. I think she deserves to know that Wight County Schools recognizes her death, but nothing has been said about her in the 2 weeks that she's died. I'd like to use the last bit of my time as a moment of silence to her. Can we do that?
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Martha Jackson.
Evidently, Ms. Williams and I must have crossed paths because I have an experiment for you tonight, too. And I didn't talk to her in advance, so. Good evening, board members, Dr. Thornton, Ms. Sharp, Ms. Harris. Welcome to the new board members. We look forward to working with you. My name is Martha Evans Jackson, and I reside at 511A Cedar Street in the lovely town of Smithfield, Virginia. Our minds frame our perspective and shape every experience. At the October 2021 board meeting, several speakers spoke on issues that concerned them. You were met and dealt with loud outbursts, name-calling, and outright utter disrespect. There ought not be hateful spewed comments when one presents what is considered and what comes before this board. Those who have done so need to apologize. Those who have done so need to apologize. Much has been said about CRT. Books that should not be read or be on library shelves in our schools. I submit that culturally responsible teaching is what is taking place in our schools, and it is critical that it be done. Critical race theory has not been taught in any K-12 school in Isle of Wight County. Critical race theory has not been taught in any K-12 school in Isle of Wight County. History has a good side and a not so good side. Both must be taught as a foundation for learning about the many inequities of marginalized groups. CRT, Marxist, factually incorrect. Theories that shut down any conversation on race are most definitely Marxist. Now, parents, your children see what you teach at home. They hear you on the county non-pay-per-view live stream on Facebook and YouTube. They see how you act when you want to have your views honored by board members. As long as the board votes the way you want them to, there is an attaboy. If the vote doesn't go your way, you gather your groups in meeting places and harangue methods that go along with your fears to fight any progress made to teach or made to what needs to be taught. Or you seek to have them removed from the board by any means necessary. It needs to stop. Many of the complainers don't have children in our schools. Want to see improvement in your children? Let them hear the nice things you say about others. Why not use this time to work with our school system? Are you promoting change in civics, government, math classes, or just the lessons on equity? Have you spent time in any or all of our 9 schools? Ask any administrative associate, principal, teacher, food services worker, nurse, custodians, bookkeepers, members of the administrative team. When the children unload from the bus or the car riders exit their cars, things are usually calm, sometimes. By the first bell, a child may have gotten hurt. An angry parent demands to see the principal without an appointment.
1 minute.
Air or heat is not working in some of the classrooms, too hot in some, too cold in others. Phone system goes on the blink, internet connectivity off in some parts of the building, water pressure goes down, behavior issues off of the chain. Central office needs a report in 30 minutes at the latest. All this even before classes even began. Maybe some of you are familiar with the commercial, "Mom, I have a situation." Well, situations like I have just described occur on a regular. Unless you have been there in it, you are clueless. Contrary to popular belief, schools are not child care or babysitting services. As parents, you may tell your children to read books that you choose. You cannot or do not have that leeway in school. Your rights should not prevail over others who want to learn by studying diverse curricula. Certainly, you don't want them reading about reality.
Thank you so
That's
much,
it.
Ms. Jackson.
That's
Thank
it.
you.
Take I out of the equation. At the end of each day, say with conviction, we did the best we
Jackson, we
could.
appreciate that.
These are the cards. You are to pick one. If it doesn't fit you, then you're to switch it with someone else. And I will bring the rest of my notes the next time.
Oh, there you go, thank you. Next, we have Laura Fletcher.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Thornton. Changing the procedures regarding public comments is not a good look. It gives the appearance that the board is trying to limit and control public participation in this most basic of American traditions, the right to petition our government and elected officials. I urge the board to not make the proposed changes to our public comments procedure. In fact, in light of the weighty issues before us, I urge you to be more generous with your time, more patient in hearing patients and parent and community concerns. Foundational to the process of petitioning our government is the friction involved in public debate. As our elected officials in whom we have placed our faith, you should give us the courtesy of your undivided attention. You should not control the topic nor manipulate the order. To place inconvenient community concerns as the last item on the agenda says everything about your commitment to the people who put you in office. Do not change the school board's public comment procedures. Leave things as they are and represent your constituents well. Returning to the issue of CRT, our newly elected governor has an impressive day one plan to remove CRT from Virginia schools. It occurs to me that this may be challenging for Wight County Schools, as not a single member of the board, Dr. Thornton, or the administration has acknowledged its existence. I am asking all Isle of Wight parents, grandparents, community members, property owners, and teachers, those that are people paying taxes, concerned about the evils of CRT to stay involved in this process. Do not think for a minute that this is over. They've invested too much time, too much power is on the line, and too much money is involved in pushing CRT. Race-based politics is very profitable for the Marxist left. We must remain vigilant. This is not a fight I would choose, but it is at our doorstep. It threatens our children, their futures, their friendships, their success, their self-esteem. CRT is a very destructive, divisive, soul-destroying ideology that, if allowed to continue, threatens the very existence of our American foundations. I'm thankful Virginians took a stand on November 2nd and elected Glenn Youngkin, who supported parent concerns about education in Virginia from the outset of his campaign. My final point is really a request. Dr. Thornton, you made a very public accusation of the 20 or so families that have been outspoken regarding CRT. You were interviewed on a local news channel and suggested that one of us had threatened your life. I'm publicly requesting that this matter be fully investigated, and upon completion of the investigation, I'm requesting an equally public apology. Thank you.
Mr. John Colick.
Good evening, everybody. I'm not going to talk about CRT tonight. Before I get started, Colonel Cunningham, I want to wish you a happy birthday. For those of you that don't know, today is the Marine Corps' birthday. So since I was elected, several parents have come to me, and some employees of the school system have come to me, and they brought a bunch of different concerns, but there are two major things that I want to talk about that I think should be addressed sooner rather than later. The first one is the mask mandate, which was put into place by Governor Northam and the school board here, put it in place for the schools. But we have found
No, we followed the governor's mandate.
there should be a medical exemption. We have several students in Isle of Wight that can't attend school because they can't wear a mask. There's no medical exemption for that. One young lady is in high school. I believe she's a senior. She has brain cancer. Her doctor said you can't wear a mask. The other one is in kindergarten, He is going through preschool again because he's got lung issues. He can't wear a mask, and his family was told, if he can't wear a mask, he can't come to school. That's my grandson. So please revisit that. A variety of school systems in the state have pushed back and said that's a parent's right to decide whether or not their child wears a mask. The second thing that I'd like to talk about is the vaccine mandate by OSHA. There's a lot of teachers that are very concerned. There's a lot of employees that are very concerned that the school board may, before January, implement that. And I ask you, please don't. Let's wait at least until the courts get finished with it. So far, 2 courts today have said that is the president, and OSHA does not have the authority. So if you please do not do anything with that before that is all decided in the courts. And finally, I've got a son with special needs. Some of you know about him. He gets a ride to school every day into Chesapeake because the Isle of Wight schools can't accommodate him because he is profoundly disabled. And I just want to tell you the transportation department is really second to none. You guys have really one heck of a transportation director, and the people working there, particularly in the office, and the drivers are great. So, every time I've come here so far, I've had a complaint, but this time I really want to say that, you guys, you've got somebody well in there, you've got a few good people, and please let them know how much we all appreciate them. Thank you very much.
Reverend Willie Williams.
Good evening, board members, especially to you, Ms. Carr. I'm sorry that you chose to step down, and you're going to be sadly missed. To all of the new school board members, congratulations. We're glad you're here. But I want to just briefly talk to you about handling distractions. Distractions are aimed at getting you off course, moving you in a different direction. Being the preacher that I am, I'm not dressed like one tonight, but I've had a busy day. I can't help but think about the book of Nehemiah. And Nehemiah wanted to do something great for his community, which had been destroyed. He wanted to rebuild the walls of Jericho, his homeland. And as he began to build the walls of Jericho, he discovered that there were 3 pests that was very pesty. Sanballat, Tobias, and Geshem. They didn't really want any serious matter. They just simply wanted to prevent him from doing something good, something great. And that was reconstructing the walls of Jericho. And not to have a wall to protect your city was a disgrace. And I come to you tonight to say to especially the new board members and to all of the other board members and to you, Dr. Thornton, and all other personnel, to include the staff that's out here. People will use all kinds of tactics to try to get you off course. But I vow to you tonight that if you stay with the responsibility and the duty that you've been called to do, that everything is going to be all right. You see, you're not called to deal with everyday situations. You can't deal with these little penny ante stuff. I mean, if you're going to deal with a child nose need wiping, what the heck you need school teachers for? If you're going to deal with floors not being properly kept. What you need the janitorial service for? You need to deal with policy and strategies. You need to deal with the future of Isle of Wight Public School and not deal with this day-to-day stuff. If a problem is a recurring problem, then you need to put it in an SOP. If a problem is a one-time issue, then you need to develop a single-use plan. You know, do your job and stop dealing with this little stuff, people pulling up your background. Little penny ante stuff, so you got a speeding ticket. What's the heck with that? So you had dogs and you didn't have license for them. You know, sick-minded folks pull up stuff like that on folks. And I can tell you black men right now, if you're black in America, they'll use any tactic they can to criminalize you. So, but don't pay it no mind. Stick to your calling. Do your job. Thank you.
Mr. Ed Easter.
Ed Easter, 12224 Hideaway Lane, Carrollton, Virginia. Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to speak, and thank you for your service to this community. And I really am here tonight to thank people. Goes back about 6 years, but first of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Jackson. That's from the hearts, folks. We're here for the kids. We're not here for politics. I'll go back to the short period of time I was on the school board, which was really wonderful as far as I was concerned. And the people that replaced me, behind me, Kirsten Cook, Vicki Hewlick, Mr. Wilson, Ms. Tynes, Ms. Carr, and the staff of the school system. You have done in 6 years what no other board has accomplished as far as the management of this school system is concerned. The fiscal management, the financial management, the physical management of the school system, and the improvement in the programs that are for the children of this community. That's what it should be about, folks. It has to be about that because that's our purpose, is the kids. It isn't whether Mr. Youngkin got elected or not. It's about what our children need from us. And what we need for our children has been done well for the last 6 years. And I hope you new members are able to improve upon that, and I wish you all the luck in the world. Now, to close a little bit, I would love for any principal that's in the state of this Virginia to come show me what their CRT program looks like in their schools. I'd be glad to visit them. All right? It's all I need. Any principal in the state of Virginia that's teaching CRT, give me a call. My name's in the phone book. I'd be glad to come help you.
Miss Catherine Smith.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Thornton. My name is Catherine Smith from Zuni, Carsville District. Welcome, new board members. I think we can all agree that the very thing that all of us are speaking out about pertaining to equity and inclusion, which carries heavy CRT characteristics and is political, and you have so kindly allowed into our schools with our hard-earned tax money, is the very thing that is now tearing us apart. This division is a total contradiction to the mission and vision statement of Wight County Schools, stated weekly in the Windsor Elementary School newsletter, The Buzz. The vision reads, to create a learning environment that will enable every child to discover his or her unique talents. The mission reads, to enhance and expand on each child's unique gifts and talents to ensure every child is college, career, and life ready. How can one teacher, one aide, and a handful of other teachers accomplish this alone with 20-plus students in each class? I admire and appreciate my daughter's teacher in every way. We communicate well electronically, and we work the best we can with the restrictions we have. But this isn't enough. It takes teachers, staff, and parents working together to identify these unique gifts and talents, not isolation or labeling parents as domestic terrorists or phonological awareness literacy screening. That sounds phony in itself. I use the PAL test as an example since I have a child in kindergarten at Windsor Elementary School. I was informed yesterday that she needs additional reading instruction based on a number which cannot fully identify her unique gifts and talents. I find it interesting when she goes to the library and checks out a book. They don't spend time reading it, but watch PBS Kids, which promotes a far-left agenda. In this additional reading time now required, another way to isolate and push equity and inclusion into their innocent minds? How can you even get a good test result while silencing their voices with masks? In our family, we love, honor, and respect all people. We work with our neighbors, our sports teams, our church, our community. Every time I see the Buzz newsletter in all caps at the top, WES, one town, one school, one family. How can I believe in that motto when we aren't even allowed in the school? Should it read one teacher? How can we work together when the very thing you are doing is tearing us apart? As a proud, concerned parent, I kindly, respectfully ask that you let us be one town, one school, one family. Thank you.
Madam Chair, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is board member committee reports and information.
Okay, Madam Chair.
You have something to share?
Yes, Madam Chair, since our last regular meeting, I had the opportunity to attend, let me see, on Monday, the 3rd, this past Monday, I did the 2021 Virginia School Board Association Fall Tidewater Regional Meeting, and that was virtual, and they had that meeting prior to us going next week to the state meeting. And they elected a new chair and a vice chair for the Tidewater region. I also did the groundbreaking, which all of us did, at Hardy Elementary School on October the 28th, and that was definitely a proud moment. And like I said there the day at the groundbreaking, it was definitely a proud moment for me because as a first grader, I entered Hardy Elementary School in the year of 1964. All of you math people out there, do the math. And I'm proud of my age, and I'm proud of Hardy Elementary. And on October the 26th, I attended the strategic planning management meeting with staff, citizens, and all for Wight County Public Schools. And the next strategic meeting will be on, will be December the 2nd, I think. Well, it's going to be on the other end of the county. We're going to have it at the Windsor Community Center. Okay, and that's what I did.
Thank you, Ms. Tynes. Did you have anything to share? Okay. Okay, I want to share one thing. Many have asked, so I want to clarify, why I still sought votes after withdrawing from the election for the Isle of Wight County School Board. Many citizens, as well as I, learned that my name would still be on the voting ballot because the ballots were printed before my withdrawal. We learned that if I still received the most popular votes, even though I withdrew, the opponent would not automatically win the seat. A special election would take place and give the citizens a choice, as my withdrawal took away their choice. Someone who may have run for the school board knowing I was not running would have had the opportunity. So I agreed to support this effort and help bring choice back into the election. And finally, since the school board and the Board of Supervisors continue to receive several emails asking to investigate the threats on Dr. Thornton, I think it would be best if he addresses this himself tonight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Unfortunately, I feel as though I have to spend time addressing the threat towards me due to the fact that some individuals in the community continue to accuse me of lying, and due to the fact the newspaper did not do a good job representing the facts after actually having the emails that I sent them back and forth from the sheriff's office. And the fact that the police stating that there is no official report instead of saying that Dr. Thornton has presented the threats and has been working with several officers. I received the first threat on September 4th from capital R1776H at protonmail.com, which read, "Just look at all that equity. I have a lot more of your queen and some of you too." And there was a screenshot of Miss Kiana Cox-Jones. The next email will CC every newspaper and TV station in the state. TikTok, Jimmy. Well, I'm the one who received it, and at first I didn't think too much of it until members said TikTok, the way it's spelt, is actually like a clock, not the tick-tock you have out there. And TikTok could be a ticking bomb. And with today's volatile society, I took it as a threat. So on Sunday, September 5th, I sent this to my IT department and asked if they could find out who sent this. I was told by IT this is an anonymous email and only the police can dig deeper into something like this. On Tuesday, September 7th, I emailed Lieutenant Edwards, who works with the schools, and sent him the email and stated, "This is an anonymous email, and the TikTok Jimmy at the end sounds like a threat to me, like my time is coming. Is there anything you can do to dig deeper?" Before getting a response from Lieutenant Edwards, I emailed the sheriff directly because I was told by my secretary that Lieutenant Edwards was actually on vacation, and I felt like this could not wait. In that email, I wrote, "I'm including an anonymous email I received which has a thread at the end that says TikTok Jimmy, like my time is coming. Can you dig deeper or make sure Kiana Jones and I are protected at the meetings and in the parking lot after the meeting? I sent this to Lieutenant Edwards, and I understand he is on vacation this week, and we have a meeting on Thursday evening." This was sent from me to Sheriff Clark. Lieutenant Edwards responded to my email shortly after my email to the sheriff and stated, "I have sent this to the sheriff, Lieutenant Morgan of Investigations, and Corporal Johnson, who will be assisting me with the schools from now on. I'm out on vacation this week, but expect someone to make contact with you. On September the 8th, I spoke with Corporal Johnson on the phone, who was very helpful. He stated that they would have increased coverage at the school board meetings and asked me to send him my address and phone number so that my house could be checked and that my number would go into the 911 priority protocol. I sent him an email that day with my address and phone, and 3 minutes later he responded in an email that stated, "I just added you to the checklist. Thank you, sir." I then went to tell Kiana Cox-Jones to reach out to Corporal Johnson with her address and phone number. She sent an email that same day with a response from Corporal Johnson that reads, "Thank you so much, ma'am. I will add your information to our patrol check. And if you were to call 911 or the non-emergency number, units would respond to your location priority 1. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me if you need anything, and I will see you on tomorrow evening for the meeting. I will personally escort you guys out of the building as well." And that was from Corporal Johnson. I then received another threat from the same email address on September 15th in the evening that reads, "Hey Jimmy, look what I found." And it's a YouTube of something that was going on in our schools. It may have been the dress thing, I don't remember now, I didn't pull it back up. "You have a fan club. I know you're so proud of yourself. This is only the beginning. TikTok, Jimmy." I then forwarded this to my secretary because I did not have Lieutenant Edwards' email at my home when I received this. And in that, I sent to my secretary and I said, "Send to Lieutenant Edwards another threat. How many do I have to receive until someone finds out who this is? My wife is scared to stay at our house alone." As you can see, at this point, I was very frustrated and felt threatened and harassed and could do nothing about this. On the next day, sitting in the Board of Supervisors meeting, I received 2 more emails from the same address and sent these to Lieutenant Edwards. At no time during these phone calls and email exchanges did anyone from the Sheriff's Department tell me that I need to file an official report. With all the back and forth, I felt like this was being investigated, and Corporal Johnson did an excellent job supporting me and my staff at the board meetings, and that police were driving by my home. Lieutenant Edwards did contact me and let me know there isn't anything they can do to track this email account, and I should have IT block the account. I did not want to block the account because I wanted to know if this person was still out there, since the individuals seemed to be so obsessed with Miss Kiana Cox-Jones and me. I did not receive any more threats and felt good that things had settled down. It was at that point when Mr. Boykin started emailing officials and accusing me of lying about the threats, because he checked with the sheriff's office and there was no official report. I found this strange since I'd been in constant contact, as you can see with these emails, back and forth with many individuals in the sheriff's department. I had first refused to send any info to the papers, but after Mr. Boykin's allegations, I had to do it because it made it look like I was lying. And I didn't want to send it to the paper because I didn't want to rile up the individual who was threatening me, because the threats had stopped. But the insistence of Mr. Boykin and now others, citizens, forced me to share with the papers. This is when Detective Potter told the papers that there is no official report. Even after my office contacted him with the information from the emails, because I figured Mr. Potter might not have seen those emails, he insisted his statement was only there was no official report. His email, this is an email from Lynn Briggs on October 12th to Mr. Potter, and I asked her to send this. Said, Tommy, Stephen from the newspaper, contacted me again today about the threat. I spoke to Dr. Thornton, and he asked me to share what he, Dr. Thornton, did on his end to notify Lieutenant Edwards and Corporal Johnson. I also told Stephen about the 9/11 alert and the home patrols that Corporal Johnson arranged. In addition, I shared the attached email messages with Stephen to verify the matter. Our concern was that a statement of no official report and no active investigation would imply Dr. Thornton's comments were false. He did not want to publicize this information, as I mentioned to you yesterday, but needed to respond with these details. He also asked me to convey that he was not aware nor told he needed to fill out a report regarding the situation. He has not received any more emails of late and will hold off filing anything at this time. Should he receive additional threatening messages, he will move forward with a report. And you may not be aware, but there's a deadline on Tuesday to get the story out. And Mr. Potter did not respond on Tuesday, but on Wednesday, October 13th, he responded to Lynn Briggs. Good morning. Just saw your email. I've had to make a quick trip to Western North Carolina to take care of my parents who are battling COVID. Stephen did call me yesterday before I left and requested copies of any reports he had in regards to these threats. I told him that we had no IBR reports because, again, no official report had been made, but that we have had conversation concerning the emails received by Dr. Thornton and others. I also explained that Lieutenant Edwards had been monitoring the situation along with Central Office. He did ask about the residents being on checklists, and I declined to comment on our operational plans concerning any security checklist. Lieutenant Edwards and I did talk yesterday that no further emails had been received. Edwards told me he had talked with Mr. Cooprider about blocking these email accounts, or at least filtering them in some manner. Let's see what gets printed in the Times. Well, what got printed in the Times was that there was no official report. And as you can see, someone was doing some kind of investigation. There was a whole lot of phone calls and emails involving the police, myself and my staff. Someone was investigating something. As far as I'm concerned, anonymous threats of, as far as I'm concerned, anonymous threats are cowardice acts that can be caused by individuals watching meetings in which individuals raise their voice, finger point, and yell. I took these emails seriously because of the volatility demonstrated at our meetings and the way some in society are acting currently. What I find more troubling since the original threats is the accusations of some members of the Southern and Central Citizens Group, particularly Mr. Boykin, stating over and over that I am lying about the threats. It's clear I'm not lying about the threats. So, Stephen, maybe you can put that in the paper. I know we have different views on some school issues. Instead of discussing these or filing the paperwork and policy, which we have asked over and over at these meetings month after month, They have chosen to call me a liar and have kept this story going far too long. Every time this is brought up by these individuals is another chance to rile up the original person who sent the threats and has continued to put me and my family in harm's way. And now they're the ones that are harassing me and my family, not the person who did the initial threat. I keep hearing that this is not personal. Month after month, this is not personal. Some of those in this group have made it very personal and are a poor example of this county's citizens. This is a great county with great people, and I am not going to let a small subgroup of the Southern Central Citizens Group, let me say that, a small subgroup of them, not all of them, to continue to harass me. Some members of this group who have come forward in a respectful way to address their concerns, or who have followed policy to address their concerns, should be commended for expressing their views in a professional, democratic way. I applaud them. But for the rest of them who continue to misrepresent the truth for political and personal reasons, shame on them, and perhaps they are the poor example that their own children and grandchildren should not be watching. I was the one threatened, and this is the last time I'm going to comment on this. So I hope you get it, Stephen. Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is financial presentations. Is anyone cold?
Yes.
Raise your hand if you were cold.
I'm about to freeze over here.
I don't know if it's the AC or whether they're conserving and it's cold outside and they're not putting on the heat. I don't know, but I'm cold.
Just turn off the air. It's cold in here. I'm about to freeze.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to the board.
Tracy.
Mr. Vines, Mr. Cunningham, Dr. Thornton.
Matt. Oh.
In your packet, we had our standard financial reports. So I'll start with, I just wanted to speak to first your large ticket items. You'll see one of them was for the Carsville paging system. You'll see that in there. But the second one, more importantly, was a payment $38,000 to Asset Genie. Asset Genie is an insurance company that our IT department uses, and what we do is we get a group rate for our families. So we offer to our families to opt into insuring their device. So our families would pay the main office in their school, we collect the money, and then ultimately we send that money in and we get the group rate, and that's what this payment to Asset Genie is. So it's not a budgeted item, but it's a win-win because it also gives our families a discounted break on their insurance for their computers. Are there any questions on the check register that was in your packets? In your financial report, I just wanted to point out, at this time of year, expenses over revenues, we did spend, it's uncanny, 33% of your budget, a third, and we're 1/3 into the school year, 4 months, July through October. So that's spot on. And if there's no more questions on the financials, I'll move on to the student activity audit. In your packet, every year what we do is through the summer months, the auditors, in addition to auditing our school financials, they also audit separately the student activity accounts of each of the schools. So if you were to read through that, you'll see a lot of numbers summarizing how much they have in each category of accounts. But then towards the end, they do speak to any recommendations, and I just wanted to point out a few things that you may have seen. And this one is a standard one that they cite, I believe, every year. They did last year when I started here with the division. It says there is an inherent risk of misappropriation of assets. However, although the risk exists, the costs of segregating these duties, because what they want us to do is have very separate duties, and to the point of having 3 people, if you will, hired to follow the different pathways of the money. And we can't do that in the schools. We have a bookkeeper at each school. And they do acknowledge that the costs do not outweigh the benefits. So they say it's not worth hiring ultimately more people to segregate the duties any more than we already do. So ultimately it's on us, the principals, the bookkeepers, to make sure that they're tracking each of the deposits, the bank statements, and ensuring that the money's kept whole. And you'll see some other things. For example, one of the items they had mentioned was interest was posted, but as an adjustment, like a transfer in, as opposed to posting it as a receipt. So the net result was exactly the same, but the auditors didn't want to see it posted as a transfer. So we'll make that change going forward. There was some old outstanding checks that were older than the auditors would care for, so they want us to follow up with the receiver of that check. Did you lose the check? Put a stop order on it, maybe issue another check, or just cancel the check altogether if it's over a year old. So we just have to follow up on some of our outstanding checks that are significantly several months old.
Excuse me, Steve, if we go
Yes.
further. I read that, and I think it was in one statement, they said something, maybe you could clarify this for me, that maybe we could send those checks that have not been satisfied as far as cash, send it to the state of Virginia?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's right. So it's all unclaimed.
Unclaimed, right.
Property. And after a year's time, if you can't track down the person you sent the check to, well, this check, you can't just take it back, the money. We need to send it to the Treasury of the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Okay.
Yes. But were there any other questions on the student activity account?
No.
Okay. All right, moving on. And you'll see, another American Rescue Plan federal funds that we're asking the board to take action on tonight. So we will be receiving, and Mr. Coleman can speak more specifically on the project, but we're receiving $1,100,000 from the American Rescue Plan specifically dedicated for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning improvements for air quality. I was surprised to see that. I was pleasantly surprised because schools, I see, are in a need to constantly repair their HVAC systems. So with the board's vote and approval, that would authorize Dr. Thornton to request appropriations of the Board of Supervisors in this amount. And again, it's dedicated to HVAC projects.
And the schools were Windsor Elementary, Smithfield Middle, and Carsville?
Carsville, Carrollton, Smithfield Middle School, and Windsor, yes. Changing out the boilers.
These brand-new boilers?
Brand-new boilers.
Okay. All right. Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to accept the American Rescue Plan Act Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Fund Grant Award qualifying ventilation replacement and improvement project and the amount of $1,101,158 under the operation of maintenance and function, and to approve the application to the Virginia Department of Education and authorize the superintendent to request appropriations by the County Board of Supervisors.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. It has been seconded. Vote, please. Motion carried. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is Support Services and Operations Full Report.
Sorry, there we go. No, not that one yet. There we go. Thank you.
Madam Chair, School Board, My name is Chris Coleman, Executive Director of Support Services and Operations. This is the Support Services and Operations full report. What I want to go into detail with first is, sorry there, Eric, is the VDOT school warning lights. There are several different lights around the division at this time dealing with transportation that we might want to investigate with VDOT in order to ensure safety around the division. The first one is at Carrollton, Newtown, Haven Road, right on the actual road right in front of Carrollton, maybe to establish a light there to actually slow down the traffic that's coming through there, just to give out a warning sign. The next is at GTMS, the crosswalk right in front of GTMS for safety purposes. And the next one is on Smithfield High School, Turner Drive and Route 10. I've already reached out to the town engineer, and he's actually reaching out to VDOT so we can come to an understanding of what we can do and what we can't do. So I'll be bringing more information back to you on the process of working with VDOT with the school flashing lights and warning light signs. Any questions concerning the warning lights? All right.
Would VDOT carry that expense?
It would be a VDOT, absolutely. There's been several times in the past that the school system have actually reached out, especially at Turner and 10, where we tried to actually lengthen the time that the lights are on in order to get the traffic off the highway. And what we found out was it was actually a VDOT function. So we've been working with them throughout the time period. It was put on hold when they were actually building the HSRD station right beside on the right-hand side out. But now I think we have a time period we can actually get some leeway there and get some forward progress. Next, we'll take a peek at the Carsville Modular Classroom. We had a meeting with the principal last week and the teachers of the 5th grade concerning the idea of a modular classroom. As you already know, the board voted, and we are putting together a modular classroom at Carsville. And we really want to dig in and get the teachers' input also of exactly what they want in the classroom, what they like to see, and pretty much a wish list of going forward. It was a very productive meeting with Principal Pam Hatfield. We talked about interior soundboards to divide the actual classrooms, the positioning of the classroom on the actual property, sidewalk, awning, and other things we talked about was extension of the trailer, cabinet space was big for the teachers, tile floors, and LED lights. Those are some of the initiatives that the teachers actually wanted to see. Right now, we're reaching out for pricing, and we're able to get more pricing for this so we can move forward. But it is a collaborative effort between the administration, the teachers, and central office. Any questions concerning the actual Carsville trailer? Thank you. Lastly, I want to just touch bases for the Division Water Management Plan. Now, during the 2020 General Assembly session, the legislature passed Senate Bill 410. Now, this is just requiring that the Virginia Department of Education to make recommendations for the establishment, maintenance, and validation of water management programs. Now, Isle of Wight has always been on top of the water management plan in the division, but it's going to start changing slightly. Now, the water management plan that we're about to enter into, this is going to be audited by the VDH, the EPA, the DEQ, and once again the VDH. And the VDH is the local branch, the EPA is the federal branch, and of course the DEQ is the state. Now, this will require monthly and quarterly sampling that has to occur, copper and lead sampling, and flushing scheduled and backflow prevention. All of this is in one plan. It'll be located at the central office so that anytime we actually get any information concerning or any water issue occurs in the division, we'll be on top of it and we can actually take our force with it, take our forward progress with it. Are there any questions concerning the water management plan? All right. That will end the support services and operations report. Oops. Eric, could you help me out here? All right. Now, I just want to close it out. Madam Chair, next we're on to 15.2, the American Rescue Plan for the Boiler Project. Just want to go into more detail what you were speaking about earlier. The boilers that are in the division is going to be located at Carsville Elementary, Carrollton Elementary, Smithfield Middle School, and Windsor Elementary. Now, what we're looking at is the construction and engineering, the design, the commissioning, the bid documents, and the removal and installation of the new boiler. What you have in front of you is the actual action item for that and to move forward. Are there any questions concerning the actual boiler replacement project?
Okay, it's a little bit more than what we're going to get from from the money, the federal government.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So will that come, the extra money will?
Yeah, so that's an estimate we've received from SSC. So it could come in.
Right.
Under, it
Okay.
could go over, but if it is over, we do have money in maintenance and operations that we can utilize.
Okay.
Can we very well tell them that's all we have is the $1 million that's coming in? Negotiate.
No, we don't want to do that, because then it will definitely cost so much money.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you're saying it could come in
So this still
lower
has
than-
to go
Yes,
out
ma'am.
as is it an IFB?
It's going to be IFB.
Yeah, so this still has to go out to bid, and we'll
Right.
get
Okay.
bids, and if it doesn't come in the price, and that's the same as the trailers. Once the
Right.
trailer bid comes in, that may be way over because of the way cost is, so we'll have to rethink and maybe come back to you. So all of this in this very volatile market right now, we'll see. But we know it's gonna cost well over the 200,000, so we need your approval to move forward.
Okay. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Wight County Schools boiler replacement project in the amount of $1,195,669 for Carsville Elementary, Carrollton Elementary, Smithfield Middle School, and Windsor Elementary.
I second that motion.
We have a motion. It has been seconded. Vote, please. Motion carried. Thank you,
All right.
Mr. Coleman.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is our transportation report.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Thornton, board members. I haven't had the pleasure to meet everyone here. My name is Todd Christensen, and I'm the Interim Director of Transportation. In front of you, you should have the monthly fuel and transportation reports. I did want to draw special attention to a couple of items on there. Firstly, the monthly meetings that we've been establishing with the drivers have been going really, really well. This has allowed us to have an open line of communication. Drivers speak directly to county leadership, having their voices heard. We've heard some great ideas from them. We've heard their concerns. We've been able to enact some changes already. And this is going to be an ongoing process with them. Like I told them at the last meeting, it's not a one and done, let's talk about it and move on. We've got to continue to have those channels of communication open, and I look forward to meeting with them in the months ahead. Additionally, I did want to pay our respects to Kathy Howren, driver of Bus 2. She did tragically, unfortunately, pass away recently. She was a dedicated employee. She always went above and beyond the call of duty. She was universally respected within the department. She loved her students and families, and they loved her, and she'll be dearly missed. So our thoughts and prayers definitely go out to her family. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I have a question.
Yes,
How are you with the, as far as the drivers? Do you have enough drivers now? Do you still need more to cover all of our routes? And also, well, I'll let you answer that.
Yes, ma'am. We always need more, so it's we are getting applications in. That's been encouraging. However, we've also recently had a few drivers that have left for other positions as well. So it's sort of one step forward, one step back. But when I say we, it's really our routing technicians are making it work.
Okay.
It's not always ideal. Every single morning, it's something new. It's a puzzle they're putting together. But we're making it work the best we can, but we are absolutely still looking for more drivers.
Okay. And I would like to thank you as well, because I know you have transitioned in that position, sort of like, pretty much during the school year. And It's good to know you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I'm sure the bus drivers appreciate the monthly meetings.
Yes, we've heard really good feedback from them. I think just being able to look somebody in the eye and voice their concerns and ideas, and it's great for me too, because I'm learning and I need to hear as much from them as possible, so it's win-win right now.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Thank you, everyone.
Chris's.
Donation items?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the school board, we have for you is it's a donation item. This will be the recommendation for donate 2 older model buses to the Smithfield Fire Department for training purposes. This is something that has been done several times in the past. Anytime we have a bus or cars or vehicles on the actual campus that we have utilized until we can't utilize it anymore. Pulled parts from it, maybe take the engine out of it. It's actually ready to actually not even be auctioned off, but taken to the junkyard. At that time, sometimes the volunteer fire department may actually use that. So what you'll find is an action item to approve the donation of the 2 buses to the Smithfield Volunteer Fire Department.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to approve the donation of the 2 buses to the Smithfield Volunteer Fire Department.
Second motion.
Okay, I have a motion. It has been seconded. Vote, please. Oh, motion carried.
Right. Thank you.
Next is the technology device purchase, laptops.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Board, Dr. Thornton. This request is usually, in many years back now, was one we brought in May to purchase laptops for the upcoming school year on July 1. We would then get those laptops in, prep them, and have them out to the buildings before the first day of school. New realities state that we need to think further ahead. Last year, we bought our laptops in March and barely got them in time. This year, we're looking to make the purchase before the end of December to make sure we have them for next year. So this is a request to move forward with the purchase of those laptops.
This is what you call being proactive, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Make that motion.
I've never been accused of not being a planner.
I agree. Okay, we need a motion. This is
I make a motion that we purchase the laptops for the high school students in the amount of $417,600.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. It has been seconded. Vote, please. Motion carried. Next, technology device purchases for the iPads.
Yes, ma'am. So these iPads are for elementary. It's K2. It is 1,250 iPads. Again, preparing for next year, and we'd like to get the purchase in so that we're not having concerns.
Okay.
Did we buy this many last year?
No, ma'am.
I don't remember. So we didn't buy iPads.
The last major iPad purchase we bought was the year Dr. Thornton started.
Okay, we need more.
We need to replace the ones we have.
That's right.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we purchase iPads for his elementary students in the amount of, is that $466,250?
I can't remember that. 466. Is that right?
$466,250.
Okay.
$466,250.
Remember the actual.
Okay.
Second it.
We have a motion and it has been seconded. Vote, please. Motion carried. Next on the agenda is the technology sale surplus equipment.
Yes, ma'am, I have a list there of approximate items that we're looking to sell. We do this by contacting it. I think last year we contacted 7 vendors. I'm not sure how many, probably 7 again this year to get the best price for each particular model. Sometimes you get better prices from one person than another for each model, and some of those models listed are older than I've been working here.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
In lieu of contacting vendors, have the county looked at reselling these used laptops back to the families, to schools, to families that need them, that are located in the school district?
What I've previously been told, and PAC may be able to relay more, is because they were purchased with specific grant funding from the state, we had to dispose of them in a lotted public manner. Because it purchased mostly with what's referred to as VPSA money, which is state money for SOLs, so make sure we had enough devices for all our students to take SOLs. And so I've always been told previously that we cannot directly sell to a person because there is the illusion of impropriety. Does that make sense? Like I could turn around and sell to Dr. Thornton a laptop I may be able to sell and get more money for the county and their citizens. Maybe I can sell it for $75 when I sell 500 of them at once, but I could turn around and sell it to Dr. Thornton for $5. And so there is the illusion of impropriety, and so I've always been told never sell directly to a person, always sell back out in lots in public ways. And PAC, if you can update me on that, I would love it, but that was the last I had heard, and so that's what I've always followed.
Couldn't the county conduct a public auction for the families and be auctioned off that way?
There is an auction website that we have used before, but we always get tremendously poor response.
You did say that again, you get what?
Tremendously poor response.
Okay.
So for instance, the last time I put something up there, I put, it was a lot of projectors, 175 or more projectors I put up there. We had a bid of $1.
Wow.
I
So-
turned around and took them to a scrapyard and got the check for like $1,200.
Okay.
So
So, one last question. So how was it marketed on that site? Because marketing, if you market that right, and me being from an IT background, it would seem to me if it's marketed correctly to the public, you would get an enormous turnout.
I'm not certain on that. I can definitely investigate that.
Thank you.
The other concern is probably a large chunk of these items don't work.
Oh.
Okay.
So.
Maybe you should say that first.
Sorry, I will lead with that next time.
No.
There is definitely a percentage of these that do not turn on.
We don't have to deal with that.
So,
Okay.
rather than also spending
That's
time figuring out which
explanatory.
ones those are, we kind of put them all in a pile and say, take it.
I finished. All right. I'd like to make a motion to approve the request to sell surplus items as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, we have a motion. It has been seconded. Vote, please.
I have a question, Mr. Cooper, before you leave. Okay.
Anytime.
You ready? Okay.
Well, wait a minute.
Okay.
I don't think we've passed yet.
Yeah.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Mr. Cooper, I want to ask you a question concern that came to me. We have some IAs in some of the buildings, like middle school, high school IAs. I don't know about the elementary, but their concern came from some of the middle school, high school. They have been issued iPads.
Yes, ma'am.
But because of some of the instructional things they're doing with the students on the higher level, some of them feel that they need a laptop.
Yes, ma'am.
And my question to you, do you have extra laptops where, if nothing else, they can check out as needed? Maybe put one, in the different buildings or something for the IAs to use until we can get maybe a laptop issued to them in the future? Just a question, I don't know.
So that has a many-folded answer, as everything in life does. So first off, we do issue one-on-one devices for all our students. At the same time, we are aware that not all students bring their devices or don't bring their devices charged to every school every day. So I have also ensured that we have a ratio of additional computers in each building that is at principal discretion, and they have issued those student devices to IAs when they feel it is needed.
Okay.
There is also, if we were to go down that route, there would have to be the consideration in the long term of replacement. So it always, whenever Dr. Thornton asks me to do something new, I always have to figure out how am I going to ever support this, and how am I going to make sure it stays forever relevant. So should we wish to go down that route, that would definitely be a topic of conversation, would be, all right, how do we then replace these devices? Because currently our rotational schedule on all devices pretty much rotates devices down and through students' hands until they hit 7 or 8 years old, and then we put them on this surplus shelf. And at that point, they're difficult to use. And that's our current rotation. So for instance, so if I buy a laptop for 9th graders, it rotates up to 12th graders, it then goes to 7th graders, then to 8th graders, then to carts, then to the surplus shelf. So it's this continual life cycle rotation. The other devices we have, for instance, the iPads, they don't really last that long. 5 years is really the usual age that you recommend for a tablet. Chromebooks is usually 3 to 4 that you recommend before replacement. So all of the devices we currently have a full life cycle that's built into them. And so we would have to change said life cycle if we extend it out to a new job subset.
So what I did hear you say that you have assigned extra laptops to school buildings.
Yes, ma'am. Every building has additional laptops.
School administrators will make
Oh,
the
and
decision.
they do. And they do.
Okay, so this is one of those situations where they need to be in contact with the building principal to see if there's something
And
they
then it
can
would
work out.
also have to be, I'm letting you use a laptop during the school day, but because you're an
Right.
hourly employee, I have to make sure and
Right,
collect it at the end of
return,
the day. so
like
it
you check out
becomes
something in the
challenging.
morning and check it back in the evening.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's something they need to work out on a building level.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Will you do something for me?
Of course.
Will you contact maybe the principals of middle school, high schools, and have them to check with their IAs to see if they can work something out on that
Sure.
level?
I can
I
definitely do that.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
I'm just going to stand here for the next one.
Report from the superintendent? Oh, we got to make a motion, right?
We did.
Oh, we
no,
did
we
that.
did the motion.
We already did.
Yeah, we did.
Update, right?
Okay, all right,
Yep,
that
it
was
was
set off a
just-
long time ago.
I'm sorry.
All right, report from the superintendent. Strategic plan update.
Today, we're going to get some work done. Today, we're going to dig into data. Today, we're going to look at Isle of Wight objectively,
That's us.
clinically, statistically. And this morning, we're going to provide you with the tools to be able to begin to decipher that data and make even more targeted questions and observations on where your school system is strong, where your school system has struggled recently, where your school system has been strong and has struggled pervasively, in order to identify what strengths and what challenges the community of Isle of Wight has relative to student learning.
Today, we're really looking at data, specifically Wight County Schools data from the division's perspective in comparison to the state. Specifically, we're looking at assessment data, we're looking at suspension data, We're also looking at absenteeism. So, of course, those things that allow us to be accredited according to Virginia Department of Education. But we're also looking at what are those community things that we need to do to possibly reach more of our students. What does the climate look like in our classroom? What additional supports do we need for our teachers? And how can we ensure that we're continuing to recruit, hire, and sustain quality and qualified teachers within our school division?
Today's conversation was really strong and very interesting. We took a deep dive into the demographic data for our schools here in the school system, as well as some of the outcome data for how our students are doing. We were taking a look at what those data gaps are so we know how to ask those important questions and get the information that we need. Just a really great conversation to see where we are in the now so we can plan for where we're going to go tomorrow.
But you also got to be careful, because when you spend too much time looking at data, numbers replace humans. And we start thinking about aggregate as opposed to humans, individuals. So as a steering committee, the soul of what we do today is going to make sure that we're good at the science of data review while remembering that the decisions we make impact human beings. They impact your community.
We cannot have a one-size-fits-all plan. Our plan needs to be for all students, and that plan needs to be flexible. Students need to have high expectations, but different expectations based on their abilities. Our next step needs to be setting goals. What do we expect to see accomplished in our county? And so now our goal is to say, okay, we see what we've done, and now how can it be better? How can we make sure that we are reaching all students? How can we set goals to make sure that we do have those expectations for parents, teachers, students, so that we are even more successful in the next 5 years?
At the next meeting, we are going to start the subcommittees that will be included within the steering committee. And so those subcommittees will then have the opportunity to look at those specific goals or identifiers that we have identified today, and then start to think of solutions to help to resolve the problem.
I think that today's discussion of seeing where our students are, how they're performing, where those gaps are in access, as well as in those credential attainment, within those next steps, is really going to inform as we move forward into those planning stages for setting new policies, creating new initiatives, even new data tracking mechanisms that we're going to need so that we can better tell the stories for our students and our school system.
There was a moment at around 10:30 today where I noticed, as your facilitator, that the tipping point of identifying all the problems transitioned into identifying innovative, practical, and necessary improvements. And that is a powerful point for a community and for a team to find itself at.
So, Madam Chair and board members, we are far into the process now. We were past the first meeting where it was more get to know each other and set the protocols to really digging into data. And we're capturing every time we meet because we want to share the process with the public and what is going on through this process. For Vision 2028 is what we're calling it. And just wanted to let you know the third Strategic Plan Steering Committee meeting will be this coming Monday, November 15th. And what's really going to happen at that meeting is Amos, our facilitator, talks a lot about North Stars or priorities or goals. And to start to narrow those down based on data we've looked at and information, to maybe get it to 10 priorities, and then to, after every one of these meetings, they take back all of the reflections from the people involved, they synthesize it, and they meet with my executive team, and we talk about next steps. So what's going to happen is, hopefully we get it down to around 10, 12 goals, we'll synthesize that, and then in December, we'll come back to the table again, put all those back up there, and we're going to try to get it to 4, 5, 6 goals. Because on a strategic plan, there's lots of things we do. Like the last strategic plan, we had literacy as one of the primary goals. We didn't mention math at all. We still do math, but it wasn't a priority in that plan. Do we still make it a priority? Yeah, we want our kids to do math. But we have to identify what are those North Stars that we want to accomplish. And so it's exciting that we're getting to that point. And then in January is when we'll start breaking it into work groups. So the steering committee is there to kind of oversee what are those North Stars, and then we'll break into smaller work groups with, if it's a special ed issue, if it's a safety issue. We're going to bring in experts in our community and in our school staff and parents to target that area and bring strategies back. And so that's kind of the process of where we're at and where we're going. And I know Ms. Tynes serves, and our two liaisons serve and give great insight, and maybe they can speak to it, but I've been very impressed when they are in a room full of adults, put on the spot and ask questions, and bam, just answer. And it's great to see that you guys have come through our school system and are able to have that great communication and give us great insight as a student. So it's a very diverse group, and it's been a very good process so far. And I know Mr. Cunningham has graciously agreed to serve. We could only have 2 board members serve, because once we have 3, it's a meeting. But at some point, we bring this whole process to the whole board and to the whole community to give input. So I'm excited about where we're going, and hopefully we will have a lot of input and have a great product as we move forward.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is the teacher-pupil ratio report from Mrs. Getz.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Thornton. I'm Susan Getz. I'm the Executive Director of Leadership. Tonight I'm going to share the annual report with you of our class size, student teacher-pupil ratio report for the current school year. Let's see, Eric. Okay. So we're going to just dive in, and as you go, if you have questions, please stop me and I will be happy to answer them. So just you're going to see now is the current enrollment, and as for comparison, just to look at what we were last year compared to this year this time. And you're going to see our numbers are up. How does it compare? And as you see, we have 192 students greater than we had last year. So what we're seeing are students are returning that maybe were at home during the pandemic, have come back to us. Kindergarten is probably the most dramatic that you're going to see. We've really increased our numbers, and you know, we knew this last year. We had heard parents say, we're going to keep our students at home. We don't want to send them in the current situation. We started at school. It looked different, so they wanted their kids to stay home and maybe start kindergarten this year. So we expected an increase, and we definitely got that. So these numbers are, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I can ask when you finish.
Are you sure?
I was looking at the middle schools, and it seems like in both middle schools, you have they decrease in enrollment. Do you know? I know you won't know exactly why, but I was just wondering if it was something during with middle school or just okay.
No, and as you see, they kind of jump back up in high school. So, okay. But I don't have exact reasons of why that is. No, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, so these reports are required for standards of quality. This is the way we do have to report them. I'm going to share it with you, but then I don't know how relevant these are. Really, class averages are more important, but I am sharing this because it is required. And one is the actual ratio, which again, it's taking all of the students, all of the core classroom teachers, and giving the ratio of that. That's not always really accurate, but it is something that has to be reported.
It's ridiculous if you want to really know the
Yeah.
whole truth about it.
Yeah, and I can't even tell you why this has to be reported in this manner. I don't
No
know,
sense.
but it is a requirement, so I'm sharing it with you. But I am going to share averages, which is more relevant. It's going to be more meaningful to you.
But the actual ratio is what you're saying, average?
No, that's not even the average yet. I'm going to show that to you.
Okay.
Yep. So actual is taking all of our students, dividing that by our core classroom teachers. Total ratio, it includes all of your resource teachers. So a lot of times on the state reports, that's the number you're going to see. And in fact, when we were in strategic planning, teachers were saying, I've never had a class of 18. That's what they were saying. And we're like, well, that's because it includes PE, music, and it includes everybody who is a teacher in the building other than SPED. So it's really not accurate, right? Okay, so but these are our numbers for our ratios for elementary. We did want to share in-person versus virtual. We had a lot of talk about what the numbers were going to be virtual. As you can see, they're very small. So here's where I think you're most interested, because this is actual class sizes for Carrollton. As you see, kindergarten is still pretty high. We're within limits. We're okay. But as you see, the numbers are kind of high there, which again, we weren't shocked. We did have to add a teacher in third grade because our numbers were very high in third grade. So we actually had to do a little shuffling and take a teacher who was in kindergarten and move that teacher to third grade. You're probably going to say, why didn't you hire? Ideally, we would be able to hire. Unfortunately, the market is not good. And we've had elementary teacher positions posted, and we have no applicants. So we had to make do with what we could. So we had to problem solve the situation, and we had to do a little shuffling in-house this year. Okay. So now we're going to move on to Carsville. In Carsville Standard, they have 2 teachers per grade, and they're pretty much set that way, and it works for them. Hardy also, we had to do a little shuffling. We had to add an additional kindergarten teacher there as well. Windsor Elementary had to have 2 teachers added. We added a kindergarten and a second grade teacher. So we actually had an IA who Ms. Couch convinced to go back into teaching because she had a teacher certification. She was just being an IA, but she graciously moved back into the classroom. And then we had a teacher from Carrollton actually move to Windsor Elementary to take the position. So we got set there. But as you see, Windsor Elementary really increased in numbers. West Side, all numbers there are in good shape. So secondary, again, this is actual ratio, total ratio. This is how it's reported. Again, not that useful for us. What we really look at are looking at averages. So we're going to move to that. First, virtual. Middle school, not that many. GTMS, average class sizes, as you see. Resource class sizes.
60.
Smithfield Middle School. Smithfield Middle School resource classes. And then we'll move to high school. And only 28 virtual, and this is full-time virtual, not just I'm taking a virtual class, but this is all of their schooling is done virtually. So our averages for Windsor High School, as you see. Resource class averages. And then Smithfield. And resource classes at Smithfield. Any questions or anything I can go back to for you?
Can you go back a slide?
Absolutely.
So the CTE, that's all the CTE programs?
Correct, and many of them are capped at 20. So that some of them are not, so that's why there's not exactly 20 in every one, but many of them, culinary's capped, welding's capped, so we can't go higher than 20.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, next, supported employment. Dr. Thornton?
Yes, Madam Chair and board members. Supported employment is an evidence-based approach to support individuals with significant disabilities into real jobs in our community, where we can fulfill employment aspirations and achieve social and economic inclusion. I received some materials and shared it with you from SSC, our partner, and I put in executive content because I don't have permission to share that out at this point. But I've been working with SSC, our partner, and talking about how can we get our students with significant disabilities who they may graduate when they're 18, but stay on with us for 3 years afterwards. And they have job coaches, and we work with them. Or they may graduate at 18 and go out in the real world. Unfortunately, there's not a lot for them. I'm sure you've probably seen some of these individuals in our community, maybe at Kroger or other locations. We have some that work with us in our shredding of our paper. And I know there's been I think there's a task force with the county looking at this issue as well. Because what do these individuals do after high school? And they can contribute to our society. And what you see in the values of the supported employment that SSC has shared is it gives them a real job within a chance to learn skills that they can perform. And once they learn those skills, they're on to the next skill. So there's constantly job training for them, advancement, and to be part of our community and part of our society and get a paycheck and go to the store and spend that money and instead of going home and, I don't know, watching TV or having people care for them. They can contribute. I've seen this work in other locations. So it's kind of a side thing I've been talking to different people about. And it's not something the school can take on as an initiative. It really does need to be a county initiative. I've talked with SSC. It probably is going to take a position that the county funds to be a job coach, to go to businesses, tell them why this would benefit their businesses, check up on those employees, because there's some challenges that will happen. And so that's going to take some work. But as step one, we feel like SSC already has an established program. We could do something here with our custodial maintenance and grounds and at least start something here. So it might not necessarily be our student. It would be open from SSC to hire adults in the community that fit this significant disability model and put them to work in our community. So I will be pursuing this with SSC. I have volunteered to be on a community task force. And I think it's another example. It may be a small group or a small subset of our population, but it's an important subset of our population that I know we've done the best we can to get them to there. But I think as a community, maybe we can do more and get these young people employed. So just wanted to share that with you.
Is it possible to work something out with this food service company that we contract with?
I'm
to
gonna-
get them into the restaurant, type
Right,
businesses?
and we'll look into that as well
Okay.
with Chartwell's. Chartwell's is under the same larger company as SSC, so
Okay,
I'm
all
sure
right.
we just haven't had that opportunity to
Okay.
reach out to them yet. I'm sure there may be possibilities as well.
I think that's great. I think this is absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is action on closed session items. Personnel report. We need a motion to approve the personnel report, item 17.
Okay, Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we approve the personnel report for the month of November as it was presented.
Second motion.
Can I make a point, the addendum as well?
Oh, I'm sorry, as well as the addendum. Yeah, I'll do it over. Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we approve the personnel report for the month of November along with the addendum as it was presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. It has been seconded. Vote, please. Okay, motion carried. Next on the agenda is the adoption of consent agenda, meeting minutes, donations, and financials.
Madam Chair, a motion to approve the consent agenda as attached and presented.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. It has been seconded. Vote, please. Okay, motion carried. Next is policy updates and revisions, policies for first read. Are there any questions or comments on the first read policies? It was 4 listed. Okay, next on the agenda is regulations and exhibits. Any questions with that? Okay, 19.3 is policy BDDH, BDDH-E, KD, and KD-E. Okay, this was brought up at our Monday meeting, our special meeting Monday night, and we had some revisions that were introduced. And in the discussion, we decided that we would like to make another revision. And what was that? What was the,
That they didn't have to submit the information or what they was going to speak about before on the back end, if they were going to speak at the end, if it wasn't related to the agenda. He thought that they had to, a day before, present. We said we have a sheet out there for them to sign their name. and
you
they
were
can
going to
sign
make
it.
Right,
can
so,
you-
Madam Chair, the change was, for those who would like to speak on the meeting's agenda item, they have to submit a form 1 business day in advance. But for those who would like to speak generally on
That's
any
right.
topic, the policy now requests that you should do it 1 day in advance so the clerk and people can
On our agenda.
thing, but nevertheless, you can still sign up the day of with a sign-up sheet outside.
Right, that wasn't in the revision, so you had to go back, because it was discussed, but
That's correct.
you had to go back and.
So that item, the revision has been made to, under BDDH-E and KD-E under section 1C.
Okay, are there any discussions? We discussed this pretty thoroughly Monday night with that as well, and you were going to help make those adjustments to the revision policy. So there is no more of a 30-minute limit. That would restrict the time of how many citizens would be allowed to speak. There's no longer a time limit. But the individual limit of speaking goes from 5 minutes to 4 minutes, which is consistent with the Board of Supervisors' time allotment. And then if you want to speak on items that are on the agenda, then that request must be in the superintendent's office at least one business day before the meeting. If you want to speak on something that is not on the agenda, you are free to sign up at any time the night of the meeting through the meeting. For example, if you are held up in traffic, but you still want to bring a concern or information to the school board and you're in late before that piece of paper is taken up, the paper is going to be there until it's time for public comments at the end of the meeting, the end of the business part of our meeting. So we now have 2 public comments that will be on the agenda if this is approved. One at the beginning, near the beginning of the meeting, for citizens who want to address things that are on the agenda. We need to hear that before we do school board business. And then there's going to be another public comment part of the agenda near the end of our agenda, which would be after we complete the business on our agenda. Does that cover it all?
That's
Does
accurate.
anybody have any discussion with that?
I think that addresses the issue because folks were complaining that the school board was limiting people to 30 minutes. Now,
And it's not.
there's no time limit, so there's more time for folks to participate. Now, that said, the school board also has to conduct its business. And the reason why the 30-minute was put into place so that you all can get onto your business. So that's why there was some, obviously we can't always have what we want. There's a compromise. And so that for those who want to speak on today's agenda can provide their input, the school board gets on with the business, and then the rest of the time, as late as they want, folks can address the board about anything.
And I want to piggyback on what Attorney Pack said. I can recall there was an incident when I was on the board a few years back, my first time, and we had something on the agenda, an action, and it had to be acted on that particular night, not after 12 midnight, but prior to that. And if we had gone over that, then we would have just lost that action completely, which we were going to be getting funding for it. And it just happened to have been on the school board agenda for that night, something that came in late, and we had to act on it immediately. But if our meeting had extended and we didn't get a chance to get to that, then we would have lost the funding. So this is why it's important that any school board actions that we have, that we do it within a certain time period, so it will not go over into the next day.
I just want clarification. At the end of the agenda items, the citizen can speak as long as he or she wants to
No,
speak.
there's still a 4 minute.
Okay, that's the
We're
clarification.
just saying that.
Okay.
Good clarification,
Yeah,
Mr.
very
Cunningham.
good
Yes,
clarification.
yes, you do not get to speak for.
'Cause that's what it sounds
unlimited.
like. They can talk as long as they
For
want.
4 minutes, but as many people
Thank you.
And-
would
and
sign up to
one-
speak.
And once You can only speak once
Thank you.
at the monthly board meeting, and that's in the policy as well.
Okay, good. I just want that clarification because I remember something happened in Congress or somewhere where they read storybook things for 24 hours.
Mr. Cunningham, prior to this, we had, it was 30, they allotted 30 minutes for citizens, unless the board chair took it upon herself special timing when you have a lot of people. And we had a situation a couple of months ago, but that we ran out of the 30 minutes and we had more people that wanted to continue, and there was a conflict there. So this is why we revisit this, so everybody would have an opportunity, okay?
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, this is an action item we're going to pass tonight. We need a motion.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we add policy BDDH, BDDH-E, and KD, and KDE, and approve those policies.
As
They're
presented.
as presented, the updates as far as citizens' public communications with the board. Comments, yes.
Comments, yeah. Second that.
Okay, we have a motion. It has been seconded. Vote, please. Motion carried. Next on the agenda is board member request or comments. Sure.
So I was just going to give you guys an update on some of the great things that have been happening at Smithfield, just because I feel like it's always kind of lost in like what's happening within the schools. So both Windsor and Smithfield had their academic jacket ceremonies. I think there was maybe 100 students at Smithfield, which was really good to see. Our winter sports have started, and both our football team made it to playoffs, and our cross-country team, some students made it to states, so they should be competing soon. Smithfield celebrated Veterans Day today by wearing red, white, and blue, so like it was a spirit day, I guess. And then we had 2 players from the field hockey team make it onto the second all-region team, so that's like our coach nominated them, and they were chosen, so that's like all of like Bay Rivers District or like Class 4A region. And I think that's it. Oh, and there's very positive feedback about the extra 2 days off. Everyone loved that.
From the students?
Students and teachers. I heard great things about it. They were very excited.
Did you have anything to say? Okay. Mr. Cunningham, did you want to, anything?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay.
And
Ms.
we,
Dyer?
I'm okay.
we actually gave you all those days off. Of course, the teachers needed the time to catch up planning and things, but as well, we wanted the students to engage in learning as well at home. This is an opportunity to catch up on those assignments that the teachers have told you that you needed to catch up on. So you really don't have excuses now because you have 48 hours to do it.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
So let the students know. Get with the teachers and take these things home while they're on Thanksgiving break and give them a chance to catch up.
Mr. Vines?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Well, with that, our meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Out of here.